Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know. To you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight? A long man who brings a job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you. And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed? It's up to you. It's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you'll cast your vote for Kennedy and the trains that's over too. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley. As I untangle wires, which I should have done earlier, part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, North American continent, Western Hemisphere, on this planet we call Earth, the only one we have. Third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system and part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect live with you for the 18th of February, 2024. Very, very interesting to think that in less than, in 11 days, it will be March. And that might sound like a lot because it's not this week, but the following, but it will be here before you know it. And having received literally 2 feet of snow here in the Lehigh Valley just this past week, in less than a week, really, on Tuesday and again Saturday, after a week where some of the temperatures reached 60 degrees. You know, I've discussed with you all and explained to you all a very pedantic, lengthy scientific explanation of the weakness of the relative weakness of the jet stream compared to what it used to be in past years, and how that is a terribly indicative sign of global climate change. But boy, when you go from literally spring. My mother actually has flowers coming up in her, I think they're tulips, if I'm not mistaken, are coming up in her back garden through the snow. It's just a very strange dichotomy of events. And today was quite sunny, quite lovely here in the valley, but still quite chilly. But then again, by the end of the week, it will be in the 50s yet again. And then we can just deal with flooding as all the 2 feet of snow begins to flood. But anyway, this is our program live with you for the 18th of February. It's great to be back with you following the what actually really was a very good Super Bowl that I watched maybe a quarter and a half of, because it just isn't my thing. I don't enjoy the NFL the way that I used to when I was younger. It's just much more of a TV show than it is a sporting event any longer. But I hope you enjoyed it if it's your thing. I did quite enjoy all of the hand wringing and kerfuffling and consternation coming from the right over Taylor Swift. Found that quite entertaining. Um, Found the conspiracy theories uh, behind her involving the administration and this all that. I mean, it's mind boggling, to be honest. It's difficult to put into words the lunacy of it. It truly, truly is. It's very hard to put into words how just nuts some of this crap is. But let me get to the business end of the program, and then let me explain to you what happened to the program this evening, or I should say, what happened to me. And therefore, by extension, the program itself. That said, let's get to this. Wherever you may be on Facebook, and I'm being told that there was a bit of audio or might be a bit of audio problems on the Facebook feed. I, of course, apologize if there is. All I can say to you is that if you are having any audio issues via Facebook, and it's very difficult for me to tell that correctly at the moment because I'm on the air, I would ask you and remind you not to go away from the great pages and groups, large, small, public, private, individuals who share our program. We don't mean to steer anyone away from these very vital Facebook sources, but if you are having any kind of sound issues, please remember that we're live on our YouTube channel right now as well. YouTube.com/that other side of information. Our audio is live on hot101.net. If everything sounds good to you on Facebook, part of the 101 places that we have been able to share the program to so far this week, and I say so far because I started getting blocked toward the end, then stay right there. I mention pretty much every week now because I do think it's I do think it means something to continue to mention it, even though it is, I guess, highly repetitive. That to every group, large, small, public, private, every page, every individual, everybody that allows us to be part of your corner of the Facebook universe, we are eternally grateful. It is how we grow. It is how the word of our program gets out. It is through the kindness of people like this throughout our 5 years that our 5th anniversary will be in April, but our 5 calendar years that we've been on the air. It is your kindness that has allowed this program to go from 1,200 people in the first few weeks to over 500,000 worldwide. And we couldn't do it without you. We're extremely grateful. We thank you so very, very, very much. And we hope you will continue to be a supporter of the program. If you can't take us all in at one time, 3 hours is a very long time to give to someone on your Sunday evening when you're probably trying to have dinner with the kids, get ready for school, get ready for work, et cetera. The big kids may be going back to campus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can always take us in small bits anywhere that we've been allowed to have been shared on Facebook and, again, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/that other side of information. And just thank you. Thank you for making us part of your week. Sunday being the beginning of the week, thanks for allowing us to start your week with you. And we appreciate it very much. There is more coming. I can't announce any of it quite yet, but there is more coming. More exciting news coming in the spring. And we really, really look forward to telling you all about that very soon. Where was I going with that? I had somewhere else in my head that I was going to go with that, and I've lost my train of thought. What a shocker. Goodness, what a shocker. I lost my train of thought. But let's get to the business at the end of the program. So we've shared 101 different places. Our home group Facebook page is That Other Side of Information. We have tried to keep, the name and the content or contact very uniform. It's That Other Side of Information. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, TikTok. It's all That Other Side of Information, and you can find us in any of those places. And oh, by the way, if you would be kind enough to share the Instagram posts, the TikTok videos, the whatever, I mean, we'd be grateful for that. It is our plan to be with you, by the way, straight through to I'm gonna have to give some thought to Palm Sunday. Of course, we'll not be with you on Easter Sunday, but our plan at this thus far is to be with you straight through for 5 straight weeks until Easter. That's the plan. I was going to do something else that I wanted to tell you about. I did turn the sound down, so let's see if I can figure this out really quick. Okay, so the promotional video that we put out for the program that I literally put out this morning at about 10:15, just shy of 1,800 people viewed it. And that might not sound like a lot. And to be honest with you, compared to Sergeant Mac, who has literally 1.5 million people following him, we have just under 400. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. We currently, at this moment, as I speak to you on TikTok, again, That Other Side of Information, we have 379 followers. So let's say 400 for fun. The fact that over 4 times the number of people watch my humble little promotional videos, and that's pretty much all I do there, despite despite best efforts of of George and Sergeant Mac and other folks to get me to do way more promotion than I should be. That's really cool. I know, look, TikTok has its detractors. The federal government itself is looking into TikTok. It is a Chinese owned company, and there are no Chinese owned companies that the Chinese government does not have piece of, including the Chinese military. But then again, if they're listening to my program, they know they have no friend here, but somebody wants peace, of course, and would love friendship. But no friend to the Chinese military here. But yeah, so some cool things are happening, but the way that you share and allow us to be part of your lives here on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, it means everything to us. We couldn't be here without it. And I will continue every time that I'm on to thank you. It will be repetitive, it will be pedantic, and I will do it every single week because we simply couldn't do it without you. And I hope that you will continue to be kind to us in that sharing process. Let me also say that we are live, of course, on hot101.net. If you don't know how to listen to hot101.net, then you quite simply have not been listening to me. It is very, very simple, and anybody can do it. Our name is our web address, hot101.net, altogether, hot101.net. Type it in and you are listening. Desktops, laptops, tablets, phones. You can Bluetooth from your device to your headsets, earbuds, speakers. You can Bluetooth it in the car. And of course, you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net, and you could be listening to us right now via that method. And of course, the apps for hot101.net. You don't have to go to the website. You can use the apps: Apple App Store for Apple devices, Google Play Store for Android devices, and for any other type of device, the Tune In radio app. Go up to the top, go to the search bar, type in Hot 101, and you will find us there. And I know I've said it every single week, I have to be honest. One of the great things about the hot101.net app is that there's no login. Don't need a credit card number, social security number, firstborn, blood type, retina scan, credit card imprint. Don't need a bank account. PayPal account, none of that crap. You download it, you tap on it, it opens, and you're listening. Done. Easy. No login, no blood scan, none of that stuff, no health records, no Bitcoins, none of that stuff. You tap it, it opens, you listen. And of course, we're a part of the TCP Media Group out of Lancaster, PA. We continue to be part of them as their family, our family as well. It means everything to us. We couldn't do it without you. Our sponsor, of course, is the PayGive app, www.paygive.org. You have to pay for things when you buy them. Why not give while you do it? So let me try. I've been wrestling with this now for about 6 hours, I would say. I think. Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? Did I get? I had a series of phone calls this morning. Yeah, 5.5, 6 hours in it that I have been dealing with this, and I have been really, really, really racking my brain. I certainly hope I will sleep tonight, because I'm exhausted already right now, mentally, well, physically too, because I can't keep any air in my lungs, can I? But so we were scheduled to have a guest this evening, and the guest, you know what? Let me just back up 1 second. Any person, any phone caller, commenter, viewer, guest, anybody that does any of those things with, to, and for our program is a blessing. It's an absolute blessing. The guests are a blessing because we cannot, and do not pay anyone to be a part of this program. We simply don't have that kind of money. Well, there's no appearance fees paid here. We don't do any of that. Guests come here under the kindness of their hearts. They donate their time to us, period. I don't think there's really a better way to explain it. They donate their time here. And we survive on that. I mean, in the same way that I thank you profusely every single week for sharing our program and allowing it to be part of your digital world, we have to do the same, because it's the truth. We mean the same for the guests. They donate their time to us. Some of them taking time away from friends and family in order to do so. Some in different time zones where they're really taking time away from friends and family. So Thursday, I think it was, I nailed down, booked a guest for today's program. And then this morning, now be aware that Thursday is a full 4 days after Super Bowl. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, what's that got to do with anything? I'm getting there. And then this morning received a phone call that the guest was going to be backing out because of the title of our program. And you might think to yourself, what does the Kennedy effect have to do with anything? Well, I'll get there too. So I sent the Zoom link. I don't think it's a surprise to any of you that we do this through Zoom, and then the Zoom is sent through Restream, and that's what allows us to be in so many different, in all over Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Great program, Restream. Folks have been great there. Tech support there is great. So when I got this call this morning that the guest was going to back out, I had to ask for an explanation. Now, we've had guests back out before. We've had some that flat out forgot that they were supposed to be with us. We've had some that got ill. We've had some that were traveling, supposed to be back home in plenty of time to be in front of the camera for us, and flight went pear-shaped, things like that. We've also had some that their children have gotten, and they need to take care of the kids, and all of that is fine. It's life, and it happens. This morning was the first time that we were canceled on for political reasons. And you might think to yourself, well, what political reasons could that possibly be? I was informed this morning that when you just do a simple Google search for the Kennedy effect, the Kennedy effect, EFF, ECT, that you get a rash of articles about the Robert Kennedy Jr. presidential campaign. And so the very, very fine, honorable, decent, wonderful person that called to cancel said, "Are you affiliated with the RFK campaign?" To which I said no, and explained that no about 900 ways to Sunday. And because our guest represents a nonpartisan group, they were afraid that being on a program with anything that had the word Kennedy in it, or the name, that might be too much of a controversy for them to deal with. And no matter what I explained, no matter what position I took, no matter I couldn't seem to break through. And initially, when I got that call, I was fuming. I mean, I was uncomfortable in my own skin. It is painful for me to do anything, to sit, to stand, to walk, to sleep, to drive a car, I can't do almost anything athletic anymore. Everything I do hurts. It hurts to sit right here. But I couldn't stop moving. I folded laundry. I started more laundry. I was pacing around the house. I was so fuming. Well, that doesn't make grammatically, that doesn't make sense, does it? I was so pissed off that I didn't know what to do with myself. And my initial reaction is, I am going to burn these people to the ground. And as she usually does, which is a sad job that she's had to take on, but she's done it and does a very good job of it. Kristen became a conscience and said, if you burn them down, you may never get yourself another guest. And that's very, very true. And by the way, I beg for guests incessantly to begin with. Apparently 500,000 people around the world isn't enough for some. And that's why any guest that we get on any topic is a blessing. And as the afternoon went on, I really didn't get any less pissed off, but I did come to my senses somewhat. Now, I'm not going to burn these folks to the ground, because I think in a manner of speaking, it would be almost immature. And not to say that I'm not immature, because I can be brutally immature. I can be terribly immature at times. But I don't think it would serve any good purpose. But at the same time, I feel that I absolutely have to talk about what happened in this phone call. And it was only really right before airtime that it occurred to me that that this is how other folks must feel. I had been painted with a broad brushed stroke without any definition, without any gray area, without much consideration for my explanation. I had simply been lumped into a category because of my family name. Now, here's the thing. The guest and the organization that she represents are nonpartisan. And there's been a lot of Democratic freaking out after RFK Jr.'s campaign ad that ran during the Super Bowl. An ad that bastardizes the very theme song that I use for this program. An ad that you can still see running at the Kennedy Museum in Massachusetts, and that is actually still technically owned by the Kennedy campaign. Why they haven't come after me yet, I have no idea. They probably will after this week. I got it. Might be the end of the theme song after this week. But if you saw the commercial, it takes the 1960 animated Kennedy campaign presidential commercial and very cheaply, very badly, very blurry sort of way inserts some pictures of Robert Kennedy Jr. making speeches, testifying in front of Congress. One of them skiing in Vail, Colorado, which, boy, I don't know how that connects with the average American. But still, it's in there. And it's an ad they paid $7 million to run. And we can get into that later, the absurdity of spending $7 million on such a thing. I wonder how much $7 million would mean to the Allentown, Pennsylvania school district, or how it would mean to the unsheltered population in the Lehigh Valley. 7 million would probably end it. But it was for one 30-second commercial. Frankly, I thought the commercial was only 15 seconds, but all the media seems to report that it was 30. I honestly don't think it was. I really thought it was only 15. But regardless, and the controversy and the freaking out about that ad that has reverberated through inside baseball political circles since made the group represented by our scheduled guest very, very hesitant to be on this program. And the quote given me is that the Kennedy name is polarizing. Okay. Now, let me be quite clear. I don't agree with any of it. And I have told you before on this program, I have said it probably literally hundreds of times. I am not some long lost son of the former president or the former senator. We are on Irish Catholic family trees are very, very large. They have thick trunks and many, many, many branches. And I am about 3 to 4 times removed from the president and the senator. But we are all on the same family tree. And simply because my family name is the same as RFK Jr.'s doesn't automatically mean I subscribe to his politics. It is simple, too simple, to simply paint us with a broad brush stroke. It's too easy to not see the subtleties and the differences and listen to them and understand them and allow them to be explained can be lazy. Does that make the organization of our scheduled guests lazy? Absolutely not. Does it make them wrong for wanting to be careful that they maintain their independence and nonpartisanship? No. They are not wrong for that at all. Not even a little. Have they allowed the hysteria? And again, this is largely inside baseball, inside politics, inside the Beltway hysteria. There's not hysteria out in the streets about this. If I go knock doors in my housing complex, I suspect 95+% of registered active voting Democrats would even know what the controversy was about from the Super Bowl. They might say, yeah, I saw it, but, or we know about him, but. The fact that my explanations to our valued guests, and they are, meant nothing to them is probably what hurts the most. Simply because I share the family name, I am somehow tainted by the RFK Jr. campaign. And I'll tell you another thing. I think that the organization represented by our scheduled guest this evening is also giving me way too much credit. I am not Tom Hartman. I'm not Randy Rhodes. I'm not John Fugelsang. I'm not Stephanie Miller. I'm not Mike Malloy. I'm not David Pakman, even though I fancy Mr. Pakman, but he's a very popular progressive host. I'm nowhere near as popular or known or listened to any of these folks. To think that an appearance on this program simply because I have the family name will somehow taint this group is absurd. Do I wish I was that powerful and popular? Sure do. Sure do. It means I would be doing this daily, 2, 3, 4 hours at a clip and getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it, if not millions. But I'm not that powerful. And I'm not that popular. I did the Google search that I was told set off alarm bells with our guests and their organization. I did the very same Google search that I was told they did. Trust me, folks, I'm nowhere in there. I did not even see how far down. Oh, I didn't do it there. I did it in the other one. I did not even look how many pages of results I would have to have gone through to find us. Right? I mean, I didn't even if I do it now, I mean, I'm nowhere in the first time that Google asks you for more results. I'm nowhere in there. And I don't know. I'm nowhere. I trust me, I'm nowhere. I am nowhere. In fact, even when the closest thing, apparently there's a couple folks who use the Kennedy effect. Oh, you can find me on TikTok. It brings me up. That's the only place. So I was told that when you Google the Kennedy effect, you get this slew of articles about the RFK Jr. campaign. Well, I did the Google search as it was explained to me, and I got one hit out of the 50 or so that I just scrolled through that referred to the RFK campaign. Most of the Google hits that you get when you just put the Kennedy effect search are articles from his presidential library, articles from various universities around the world about his legacy and the effects of the Kennedy presidency and of Senator Robert Kennedy. Their policies, how their policies affected America, how the assassination affected America, assassinations, plural. So we're just not that popular or powerful. We're just not. And I have to say, it's the first time in my life that anybody has ever said that you're tainted because of your family name. I've never heard anything like it before. It was shocking to listen to. It was bothersome. It made me queasy. It also made me sweat in anger. Again, I was pacing around the house. Now, again, let me be very clear because I have a feeling that this will get back to these folks. They have every right in the world to be careful about their organization. They are good people. They are intelligent, highly, highly intelligent, highly educated. They love our country the same way all of us do. But their fear is irrational and it is unfounded. And I closed my conversation as I was being told, that's it, we're not coming on, all of that. I closed my conversation by saying that they are always, 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 always welcome here. And they are. And I have a feeling that after all of this blows over, that they will come back and I will welcome them because they are highly educated people who can explain highly difficult technical concepts in very simple ways that would benefit you, my audience. So they will be welcome here when they are ready to return. And I do believe in my heart that it is a when, not an if. But at the same time, I have every right in the world to disagree with them, just as they have every right in the world to disagree with me. Any appearance by anyone on this program does not taint them or shadow them or somehow link them to the RFK Jr. presidential campaign. We're not that close on the family tree. Mr. Kennedy Jr. would not know me if he punched me in the face, if he tripped over me, if he spilled hot coffee on me. He wouldn't know me. Now, interestingly enough, I have reached out to the Kennedy Jr. campaign to invite him to this program. Shocker, 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 I haven't heard back. But he's welcome here too. I'm not holding my breath. But he's welcome here too. Everyone is welcome here. Whatever your political persuasion, background, color, gender, everyone's welcome here. Everybody. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Area code 570, have a go.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey. Oh, please turn that down in the background. You're reverberating on me.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. You know who I am. I don't mind saying my name. My last name is Volchan. I am
The progenitor.
third generation. And the whole time I was in school during the 60s and into the 70s. Communist.
I'm as much a communist as somebody in this area where I live that have predominantly German names would be a Nazi. A name just identifies you. That's all it is. My last name says my grandfather came from the Ukraine. Kennedy, there's a lot of it. You know, recently I found
Yeah, including
Yeah.
a senator from Louisiana who's a Republican who gave himself a folksy thick Southern accent when he went back to Louisiana to run for office, even though he is a Yale educated lawyer. And there's tape of him before as that Yale educated lawyer speaking perfectly clearly and very radio-esque and very, Don Pardo sort of speaking with zero Southern accent whatsoever. And now he's the most folksiest, farmy, swampy sounding kind of guy you could think of because it ingratiates him with the ill-informed voters of Louisiana. So a name is a name is a name. There are Republican Kennedys all over this country. Don't agree with a damn one of them, but they're welcome here too.
The thing of the matter was, you and I have talked about this. When I moved here and my father, we were Republicans. But if I may say, the old-fashioned conservative
Eisenhower Republicans.
Yeah, if it didn't work, you looked at it, figured out what the problem was, you changed it. If you couldn't repair it by changing it, okay, you didn't throw, as the old saying goes, the baby out with the bathwater. All right, is the idea good? Yes. Is the present system working? No. So we just walk away? No. You work at it until you refine it. The thing of the matter is, I'm living in an area here where I stopped being Republican because, I'm sorry, the monkeys have taken over the party. They literally have. They're going through what they're saying. Oh, Jeff Kennedy? Oh, well, he's got to be a Democrat. Why? Well, he's named after Kennedy, which is John Kennedy, and John Kennedy was a Democrat. What that means nothing. It to say to my students, listen, being a Democrat or Republican is as much saying, are you an Eagles fan or are you a Steelers fan? The thing of the matter is you have a love for football. You follow the rules. You have a different approach to it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The idea is to get it to work. To simply say, I have to have it my way, I'm sorry, in my mind, it's infantile. It can't work.
This is you've given me a great opening and a great segue without knowing it. But your brilliance is exactly that. You did this without knowing. You give me an opening and a segue to talk about my position, such as it is. I certainly doubt that my position will be getting back to Mr. Kennedy Jr. anytime soon. But it does allow me a segue to give you all my impressions and opinions of his campaign. And to be fair, this is actually something that we disagreed with about the outstanding woman who called me earlier. And I mean it. These are good people, even though they canceled, and I think they canceled out of fear and out of irrational and ill-informed fear. They have every right in the world to do it. I simply disagree with it. But they have a right to do it. We actually disagreed on this, which probably isn't much of a shock at this point in retrospect. But it does give me a chance to tell you all what I think of the Kennedy campaign, of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s campaign. Here is why I think Mr. Kennedy Jr. is getting traction. Because of his name, because of who he is. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the son of the former senator, of the assassinated senator, nephew of the assassinated president, a man who is a very, very accomplished environmental lawyer who has sued and defeated in court some of the largest polluting corporations on this planet, and has done so without pay on behalf of some of the most marginalized communities in this nation, predominantly very, very poor neighborhoods of color where big manufacturing facilities go in, poison the neighborhood, don't care that they're created cancer clusters, dump chemicals into water supplies, streams, reservoirs, rivers, and then walk away for the taxpayers to clean up and for the people who remaining to live there to die slowly of cancer. He's defended those people. And he's done more than defended them. He's gone on the offensive and taken these people to court. He's one of the most well-known and successful big environmental lawyers on the planet. His campaign platform, as I understand it, from an economic and social point of view, is the Kennedy family platform. Green the environment, save the environment, tax the rich, eliminate poverty, educate the poor, provide health care to everyone. A very progressive, a very Democrat, a very democratic, a very New Deal, a very Kennedy-esque economic platform. Where he goes off the rails, where he has lost the family. And if you were paying attention to Twitter, and yes, I'm still calling it Twitter, this week following that ad airing during the Super Bowl, if you were following Twitter, family member after family member after family member, and this has been universal. I don't know a single family member from the main, quote unquote, main branch, famous branch of the family that has not disavowed his campaign. I don't know of a single one that has not spoken out against it, including his own mother. But member after member after member after member of the family came out this week and disavowed themselves and were shocked at that ad. And some flat out pissed off that he used the legacy of President Kennedy and tried to infuse himself into it. Where RFK Jr. goes off the rails is the conspiracy theories. The COVID vaccine is a hoax. The COVID vaccine is exactly what makes you sick. They're microchipping you. It wasn't created with all the rigors and safety precautions of other vaccines. He has espoused conspiracy theories that mercury in vaccines is what is causing what is becoming an alarming crisis and drastically escalating numbers of children who are diagnosed with autism and ADHD. He's espoused many conspiracy theories about the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks in New York and Washington and Shrinksville, Pennsylvania, all of which have been debunked. You know, the odd thing is that he's not just espousing conspiracy theories, he's espousing conspiracy theories that have already been completely flushed out and debunked. And that's where he loses it.
You know, Jeff, if I may interrupt, what gets me about conspiracy theories, and I agree with you, that's the one thing that upsets me about them. Let's go back to Obama when I had hundreds of people look at me and say, he was not born in the United States. And you're a civics teacher, doesn't it say? Yes, it does. Then answer this question, sir. If what you're saying is true, why hasn't the Republican Party jumped on it and brought forth the information, laid it before the courts, laid it before the public? There goes the politician Obama. He's out. He's gone. He's finished. It never. And when you hit him with the logic, when you hit him with the facts, and that's what upsets me mostly when I was hearing what he was saying was, you get a certain look in your face. It just doesn't seem to work. And what I used to tell my students, a politician will tell you anything to get you to vote. You have to think. not to go back to the current man who's trying to take over the Republican Party. But
Oh, he's
I'm
not
gonna
trying. He's taken it over. He
Well,
owns it.
I keep praying, but
There is no Republican Party left. We can get into that and go down a different rabbit hole, perhaps in the second or third hour. But there's no Republican Party left. Period. End of story. None. Zero. It's
there,
his.
there
It's
are
his now. It's his
there
now.
are there are those of us who are underground, but we have not yet gotten together and got the cojones to finally stand up and look at the guy and say, you know what, you're a dingbat. I'm sorry. I'm reading a book here that was offered to me by a friend, and I know those who believe in Mr. Trump will say it's totally slighted, but I'm looking at all the politicians who were looking at him when he announced his candidacy. He'll never do it. Oh, he can't do it. No, the Republican Party. Oh, we don't have to worry about it. And he did. What suddenly changed? Where's the logic? Why
Money.
didn't you fight?
Money's
didn't
what
want to
changed.
fight. You were-
$8.4 trillion in tax cuts for corporations and rich people. That's what changed.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest thing is, even when I say to my friends, I'm going to get the initials wrong, the trade agreement with the Asian nation, and you have the same people here scream about how they go to Walmart and see everything from China and all this and the Chinese, and I said, but Obama and the Asiatic nations had come together to create this economic entity that would kind of hold and watch China.
And let's
But
remember,
God,
this week we got
United States
news.
blew it up.
This week we got news that the United States now imports more goods from Mexico than from China. And that might not, on the surface, folks, sound like a good thing. I assure you it is. It's a very good thing.
It's just what I've always said. It's the basics that I said, you're trying. When I went back to that, I said, you're trying. It's kind of like saying, you see Jeff Kennedy? Yeah. On the other side of the football team? Yeah. He's coming through that center hole. He's coming right past the center. Yeah. The guard, he's coming here with the ball, right? Who do we take care of? You got to take Kennedy. And they don't. They go to the other side. They let it go. And then they stand there in amazement and go, how did we lose? How did he get through? There's a lot of complications, but it's basically, when I listen to him and his conspiracy theories, you want to say, is it? Is it a possibility? Is it true? Go back to his Uncle John. I just finished reading a book about how they theorized, this author, that the agents had been a little partying, and this one guy who was supposed to have been the driver was now sitting in the back front seat of the car that was before Mr. Kennedy. When they heard the shots, he brought up an AK-47 or some assault rifle that had, or he flipped off the safety. As the car he was in took off, he fell back and shot. And that's what killed him. Now, is that true? I can spend the rest of my life, and from what I read in that book, that argument, that's what it was. But I've also read 20 other books. Conspiracy theories are just one way of saying, hey, look at me, I have the answer. And it kind of knocks out any logic that comes along. Like, if all these vaccines are terrible, Jeff, why? I got vaccinated. Your future mother-in-law got vaccinated. Your wife, your brother-in-law, they all got vaccinated. So what's wrong? Is it the vaccine? Was it the company that made it? Did they do slipshod measures? Did they go through lack of testing? No, but vaccines are bad. It's too simplistic an answer. It's just, and that's what worries me when I heard. I was very enamored in what he said, but when he started to go down that rabbit hole, I thought, no, come on, no, please. No, I mean, I can make a conspiracy theory that you're a front for, I don't know, who. put me on the radio, your show, and I'll argue about how you're out there working for the Russians. They're really fantasy in a way. They cloud any approach towards a logical explanation and examination of the facts.
I want to
Um,
I want to get to this too before the top of the hour, before I have to reset here. Let's not forget who actually paid for the RFK campaign ad. Now, within 30 seconds of that ad airing, because I started the Google search while the ad was airing, and then I posted again another few minutes after it, who actually paid for this? Now, Robert Kennedy Jr. has said that the ad was paid for by a PAC that he has no control over. That appears to be untrue. PAC has been related to him for years, long before he decided to run for president, in the research that I did. If that research is wrong, somebody can tell me I'm wrong. But I used the old Google machine while the ad was running to look up the group that paid for it. They are largely a Koch-funded PAC. So the very fossil fuel entities that Mr. Kennedy Jr. has fought very, very, very successfully on behalf of some of the most neglected communities in our country, the very fossil fuel industry that he has fought against in court and won, funded that ad. It was also funded by the ex-wife of a Google co-founder. And then I went to opensecrets.org, and you can go to my Facebook page, go to that other side of information. You will see this. I posted it there. I went to Open Secrets and looked up who his donors are. They're big dollar conservative, quote unquote conservative. They're big billionaire Republican funders. They happen to be anti-Trump funders, but they're still billionaire Republican funders. These are people who simply do not want to see Joe Biden reelected. He raised their taxes. He raised them a whopping, I think, 1.5%. But boy, when you're a billionaire, you don't want to give a penny to anybody. You want to keep all your money, and you want to take it from everybody else. Mr. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign is relatively well funded for an independent. But he's not being funded to become president. He's being funded to keep Joe Biden from being reelected, with the thought being that Democrats who fondly remember the name Kennedy, Senator Ted Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, and even the new generation, Patrick, Joe Jr., Joe the Third, I think it is, former congressman from Massachusetts, that folks that remember the Kennedy name fondly will gravitate toward RFK Jr. And some of them are. The American electorate can be accused of many, many things. Being well-informed is not one of them. And being great thinkers is sure as hell not one of them. So when you look at who's paying for this, it explains to you the basis for the Kennedy campaign. It's not to get Mr. Kennedy elected. It just isn't. And it's not to get Mr. Kennedy elected. And it's not even to provide an alternative to Trump. It's actually to get Trump elected. It's to get him elected and not allow Mr. Biden to be reelected. Period. Period.
The thing of the matter is, when I talk to some people about the Kennedys, right, and you go through the economic policy and you go through the history of his father and his uncle and all the thing they come to it, the conspiracy. because it's the easiest for them to wrap their heads around. You saw that commercial and you researched. I've always said around here that, well, some of my friends, that's like, did you look at this? Did you look that up? Well, no, I don't read it. And why would they? If what you're saying is true, why isn't it on television? Why isn't it here? I said, well, if it smells like poo and it looks like poo, take a look. Dig it up, research it. It's not that bad. In our days, when I was,
It took
you
me a
had to-
whopping 3 minutes
well, now
to
back in my
figure
day,
to
Jeff,
figure out
it-
who was funding this, who funded the PAC, and Google search results that led to reporting that Mr. Kennedy's been involved with this PAC for years. It's not that hard, folks. It's
and that's what
pretty it's pretty fracking easy to figure
it's
this
amazing.
out, isn't it?
When I was younger, you had newspapers. You had to go to the library. You had you didn't remember when
Those socialist libraries, yes, remember those.
you had to run video thing. Now you can sit down in a matter of minutes. You just said it yourself here on your show. I'm watching it on television and I'm looking it up. A long time ago, you would have had to leave and go to the library, which you had to wait till the next day when it opened. And when you say to these people, you can look at it and you give them the information. When you say you can look at all this, what do you hear? Well, it's not true. Well, where do you find it? You can give them all you want. It's just, I don't know. It just, I say to my wife many a times, I said to you, the monkeys are running the zoo. They want somebody, the Republicans, come with this magic wand, hit the ground, and everything will kind of turn back to about Reagan, maybe a little before. Gasoline was cheaper. Predominantly minorities kept quiet in their own section of town. If the United States could clear its throat, and the rest of the world rumbled, and you could go to W.T. Grants and all, and it's not going to happen. It never has. And you say to them, look at what's happening now, prepare for the future, try and think. That's the thing, thinking first. Thinking takes time.
And I'm going to, at the risk of going down another bit of a rabbit hole, but this is something that I've said on the program week after week after week after week. When Reagan took power on January 20th, 1981, one of the first things that he did was he appointed Bill Bennett to be Secretary of Education. Mr. Bennett's job was to destroy public education. Same way as Mrs. DeVos under the Trump administration was to destroy public education, because she made her billions in the private education business, charter and online quote unquote schools. One of the very first things that Mr. Bennett did was to end the federal mandates on civics education, or at a very minimum, not enforce them. Because it's very, very difficult to complain about government when you don't understand how the damn thing works.
Right.
And it's much easier to accept the Republican line of just put us in charge, we'll take care of everything. And then when you complain or ask questions about it, to be told, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, we got it. No need, nothing to see here, move along. Avoid the blood in the street and the dead body, there's been no murder here. And that's where your line of thinking hurts is very, very true. Again, I'm not special. I'm not smarter than anybody. But when that commercial aired, and I can pick up my phone, which happens to be attached to a cord right now, so I can't quite show you, so it doesn't die on me, unless I can push the cord through. I can pick up my phone, and in 3 to 5 minutes, I know who paid for that ad, who the PAC is, and who funds them. And if I can do it, you all can do it. And the people making the case that somehow I am tainted by this presidential campaign, a man who RFK Jr. wouldn't know if he tripped over me. that I'm somehow tainted by that, and that this is a program to be afraid of, is lunacy. Now, again, do these folks have an absolute obligation to maintain the bipartisanship or non-partisanship of their organization? Absolutely, they do. They have every right in the world to associate with or without whomever they wish. But their rationale for avoiding this program is irrational and ill-informed and incorrect. Do I agree with the decision they made not to come here today? Of course I do not. Do I understand it? I do, completely. Does it still make me angry and sad? Yep.
But
But
it's kind of,
and by the way, does it make them bad people? Of course not. Goodness, no, of course not. Because I assume everything I'm saying about this topic will get back to them in some way. They're not bad people. They're not evil. They're not angry. They're not subverting democracy. They're not beating puppies in a basement. They're not doing any of these things. These are good people. They're incredibly educated and smart. And they were kind enough to originally volunteer to be on this program. And I believe deep in my heart, they will be here again. But to think that being on this program is going to taint their organization somehow is simply incorrect. But I also respect the fact that they feel that deep of a duty to protect the integrity of their organization to not be here. I don't agree with it, and it's hurtful, and I think it's deeply incorrect, but I do understand it.
well, I'll tell you truthfully, Jeff, it's a lot of people don't remember that old saying. I disagree with what you say. I am not in favor of what you're saying, but I'll defend your right to say it. It's just easier to label people.
Yep.
To just simply say, you are this. What do you mean I'm this? Well, you're this. Well, could you be possibly this? No. But so what background, what gives validity to your judging beyond just simply saying, that's, there's no logic. I mean, you can have an opinion. You can say you're liberal, you're conservative. Kristen and I would have that argument. I could consider myself quite liberal, but when it comes to capital punishment, I'm highly conservative. Now,
no, here's the thing. Here, their concerns they're logical.
Yes.
I think they're ill-informed, and I think they're incorrect. But the rationale that was given to me this morning is quite logical. I think it's I think it's simply based on bad information. What just happened?
And also on the time, the way things are going.
I bumped something on the board and everything went quiet. Gee, God almighty. God's telling me to shut up and move on to a different topic. Wow. I bumped something on the board and everything went silent. Anyway, say that again, because I think I screwed everything up.
No, it's like, you can, Jeff, you and I agree on this? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. What about this, Jeff? No, you don't disagree with me? You disagree with me? Or you're not one of them.
Right. It's the George W. Bush line. You're either with us or you're against us, which, actually also comes from Star Wars as well, ironically. Yeah, I mean, there are gray areas in a country in the largest economy on earth, the richest country on earth, a country of 335 million people. There are no absolutes. And the discussion that I had with these good people this morning simply is a gray area. It's not that's like saying the Republican senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, is somehow tainted by the RFK Jr. campaign. Nothing could be further from the truth, because That man is just bought, paid for, all the usual Republican lines, that fake folksy Southern accent that he puts on. He's somehow tainted by the RFK Jr. campaign simply because his name is Kennedy. The young lady who does a show on Fox Business, the former MTV VJ Kennedy, is she tainted? It's just silly. There's gray arguments. Wrong. There's gray areas here. But at the same time, I want to be careful to say, I'm not here to burn bridges. I'm not here to insult these folks. They are legitimately concerned for the bipartisanship and nonpartisanship of the organization they represent. And they have every right in the world to feel that way. Every single right in the world to feel that way. They're doing what they think is best. I simply think the rationale that they used was incorrect and ill-informed.
And it's sad that the way the times are, that rationale has to be considered, because it can be ever so devastating.
Mhm.
I mean, there's somebody you're associated with who has a foreign sounding name. Does that mean that that individual, because of their association with you, has more or less ties with that gentleman in the Soviet Union? You know, it's just illogical. It doesn't follow a form of logic. Yes, like you, I feel for them. I understand their concern. I do not curse them. What I do is I curse time. That a person like that cannot simply stand up, like John McCain did that time when a woman was really ripping into Obama, and he turned around on television and said, "Listen, he and I have political views that are totally opposite, but I'm sorry, I disagree. He's a good man." And you know, that's what's missing. The ability to simply say, I'm on Jeff Kennedy's show.
And
there are some things I agree and I disagree with.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me whatever. Doesn't make
and
me
that was a
black.
and that was a John McCain who was not the same John McCain he was 8 years before that.
No.
And that's for damn sure.
Well, what about, oh God, Alzheimer's hitting me. Oh, what's his name? Senator from the South, but this is Trump.
Oh well, there's only about 30 of them.
Yeah, I remember him one time being on one of the talk shows, and he was lambasting.
Oh, Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, and then he gets the nomination, and oh my God, you know, I I'm have his children. You got to, if you have an ounce of brains, wonder what happened here. You know, well, I will tell you, I let you go. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I now have to hang up the phone with you. I have my good friend in Moscow. I need to call. It's flashing right here.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, you take care. And sorry I didn't see you this weekend.
It's all right. That's next. That's why God created next weekend.
And feel free to tell the story about me staring at a wall.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Bye now. Phone line's open, but let me first welcome George. Hello, sir. If he's there. Oh, there he is.
I'm here. Sorry, I was eating.
Well, that's all right.
I don't want everybody to hear me eating over the radio.
Well, it's I think it's a credit to our program that you've not been sickened enough by it that you can't eat. So, God bless you. Good for you. You haven't been thoroughly disgusted enough that you can actually continue to eat as the program airs. We are not the same when George isn't here, so we're very glad to have George here with us.
I'm not the same when I'm not here. So.
No, you're better.
You only think that.
No, you're much better. You're much better off when you're not here. But yeah, okay. So thrilled that George is here. I think that on the screen now you're not seeing all of the phone number So let me fix that for you so that you can see all of it. Of course, it's on George's Square as well. But we'll, fix it anyway. I am very, very late for a program reset. It is 7:16. This is the Kennedy Effect live with you for the 18th of February, 2024. On the back half of February already. We're just a blink away from putting 2 months of 2024 in the books. It's really hard to believe. I mean, it's genuinely, genuinely hard to believe how fast this year is going. And giving all that all the activity that's going to be taking place this year, boy, it's just going to be a quick year. It's going to be a brutally quick year. The elections and there's an Olympic Games in the summer. It's going to be a really, really quick year. And we're almost 2 full months into it. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. Wherever you are across the Facebook universe, I was actually able to finish my sharing while I was speaking with my father-in-law on the air here. So we have shared the program to the 114 different places across the Facebook universe, wherever you are, taking us into every single individual group, both large and small, public and private, agree and disagree, to every page that has allowed us to be part of your corner of the Facebook universe. We thank you immensely. We could not do it without you. We could not be here if you are not there. If you ever miss any of our program, please know you can go to our YouTube channel, where we are also live right now. That other side of information, it is the best place to catch up on our program, to miss it, to watch anything that you may have missed, to take in our 3 hours in smaller pieces, if you will, 20-minute. And there's quite a number of people who do that every single week. I do wish the number of people that were actually watching the YouTube channel would just give us a quick subscribe. It really helps us a lot. But you can go there and watch the program back in smaller bits, 10 minutes here, 15, 20, half an hour here and there, and you can take in the entire program by the end of the week. It is currently our plan to be with you next Sunday, which is the 25th. Needless to say, no guests are currently lined up, and I'm now beginning to wonder if I will have any going forward. But we will be back with you next week. Hot101.net, our name is our web address. If you can connect to the internet, you can listen hot101.net anywhere on earth or above it. Desktops, laptops, tablets, phones, Bluetooth it to your speaker, headphones, earbuds, Bluetooth it in the car. Most cars have pretty darn good sound systems nowadays. Bluetooth it right into the car and enjoy it while you're driving. And if you are concerned for some reason that you might not like some of the music on Hot 101, I'll be honest with you, it isn't always my taste either. But again, I've said this to you every single week. The DJs that mix that music are artists. They are genuine, real artists, and they are good guys and gals. They're immensely talented. And to listen to the way they flow the music and mix it together is real artistry. And you need to check it out. These are good people doing great art, great musical art, and you need to listen to it. Hot101.net, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, everywhere around and above planet Earth. Apple App Store, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app. The great thing about the Apple and Android apps, you tap it, it opens, you're listening. No login, no registration, no money, no retina scan, no blood sample. Don't have to give up your firstborn. You tap it, it opens, and you listen. It's hot101.net, and we are proud to be part of the hot101.net family, the TCP Media Group as well, out of Lancaster, PA. And of course, our sponsor is the PayGive app, www.paygive.org. You have to pay for things. Why not give while you do it? The PayGive app is a financial transaction app, And of course, these financial transaction apps make their money by taking a percentage of the transaction, or they charge a fee on top of the transaction that you are doing. You have a chance to designate a piece of that fee to a cause of your choice: animal charities, veterans charities, senior charities, health research related charities like the American Lung Association, American Heart Association, Shriners Hospitals, places like that. You can designate a piece of the fee that you are charged to go to a charity of your choice. The Pay Give app, you have to, when you buy things, you have to pay for them. Why not give while you do it? 721 on the Kennedy Effect for the 18th of February. We enter our second hour. We will try to take you to right up to 9 o'clock. Sergeant Mac is live. He returns live tonight as well. Everybody took a Super Bowl break. Let's be honest. 2/3 of the country was watching it. At one point or another during the broadcast, especially as you got later into the game and into overtime, 2/3 of the country was watching it. Very hard to do a radio show when 2/3 of the country is doing something else. So it just made sense not to be with you last week, but we're here now. We'll be here next week. If you have comments, questions, phone calls, now's the chance. 267 227 9189, 267 227 9189. The phone number is on your screen repeatedly. It is in George's Square. It's on my square. 267 227 9189. I wanted to also mention about, I want to talk just a little bit about that ad, to find in on that ad. If you didn't see the ad, it is what we use for our theme song. It is John F. Kennedy's kind of animated, and there's photos interspliced in there. You hear it, I watch it on my end. You hear it on your end. I don't run the video for it, just the audio. But it is John F. Kennedy's presidential campaign commercial from 1960. And RFK Jr. took pictures of himself, and very cheaply, is what it looked like to me, kind of photoshopped himself in, if you will. That's not the right term. Well, it kind of is, describes it. I'm sure it's not exactly what they did with it, but it's, for all intent and purpose, photoshopped himself in. Rather badly, might I say. It's very blurry and jumpy, and again, one of the pictures is of him skiing in Vail, Colorado, which, just doesn't the average American always go skiing in Vail? One of the true billionaire playgrounds on earth, Vail, Colorado. And the attempt is to try to revive in older Americans and make a link to Americans who may not have been alive during that time, but know the name, is to link himself to President Kennedy and his legacy. And let us be honest, Robert Kennedy Jr. is the son of Senator Robert Kennedy. He's the nephew of President Kennedy. He's had that, in that vein, if you will. His claim to that legacy is somewhat legit. He is a direct heir of the political dynasty that is the Kennedys. But it is his economic platform, from everything that I can tell, is very Kennedy-esque. He's asking some of the same questions. Why do we have unsheltered people? Why are there poor people? Why are there kids who cannot go to school because they have to work to try to serve, to try to keep their family afloat and keep a roof over their heads? Why are there, why is there an increasing number of poor people who cannot afford electricity and running water? Why can we not see a doctor? But it's the social policies, it's the conspiracy theory where it all goes wrong. And that's why the family has rejected this campaign effort outright. And again, I don't know a single member of the main branch of the family that has said, yes, I support my cousin, nephew, on and on. Not a single one that I've seen. And so he has tried to tap into that legacy. He actually has a right to do it. And his economic platform is that legacy. But the other stuff is just so outrageous. It is so scientifically, it is so unfactual based on science that it can't be taken seriously. His entire candidacy can't be taken seriously with the just lack of science fact that he has put into these other ridiculous stances that he has taken. I don't support him. I don't agree with him. I believe his financing and entrance into this race is for one purpose only, and that's to help Trump be reelected, because Trump will continue to cut government, destroy government, cut taxes, throw poor people under the bus, just so the mega top 1/100th% will continue to get more of their own money back by not paying taxes and take more of that money from you, extract wealth from you without any repercussions, without any regulation, without any accountability. Please keep in mind what I have told you on this program before. I think we are in a very different era here. The rich don't want to just be rich. They're not satisfied with the billions and billions and billions of dollars that they already have. They think your money is their money. They no longer think tax breaks are enough, or offshore shell companies and shell accounts are enough. They think that your money, they think the entire United States is an old West Virginia coal town, that the company owns your house, the company owns the grocery and the post office and the roads and the schools. And they give you a paycheck, but then they claw it all back. Well, this is your house fee, and this is your grocery fee, and this is your, until they get all that money back and more. They think the entire effing country is an old West Virginia coal town, a company town, and that it is your duty to earn money for them, or generate money, I should say, for them. What's theirs is theirs, and what's yours is theirs. And that's the difference. And a second Trump term will mean even more. You think $8.4 trillion was a lot to cut taxes? Oh, just wait. Just wait in case there is a second Trump term. How much money would the billionaires get back if Trump pulls all U.S. troops out of Europe and out of NATO? Except that the military-industrial complex wouldn't exactly be that happy about that either, although they would just sell more weaponry to the Europeans. So our top 3 greatest exports now in the United States are fossil fuel products, military weaponry, and I think the third one is lumber or something like that. I'm not even sure about the third one. Somebody will correct me on that. It's raw materials, I think, as a conglomeration: lumber, coal, iron, things like that. Anyway, Randall is there. Welcome, my friend. I hope you are feeling well. Floor is yours.
Yeah, that's a good analogy of fruit. That they just want to restore an old West Virginia company holding. But I think it goes even deeper than that. They actually, in my opinion, they want us, all citizens, black, brown, white, polka dot, they want all of us citizens to be working on an old South slavery plantation. And
That's
yeah,
another
my
that's another great analogy. It's very kind of you to think that I came up with a clever analogy. I think it actually kind of is a little clever, but that's another great analogy to turn the entirety of this country into a southern plantation. And we 99%, we are the slaves. They are the slaveholders.
exact.
And it might not be a perfect analogy. I imagine people of color would take offense to that analogy. But from a purely economic standpoint, the owned and the owners, I think it might actually work.
Yeah, you're right. Probably some of my black friends would probably get a little upset at Randall, but a lot of people always get upset at me. Anyway, yeah, changing the subject on news this week.
Mm-hmm.
This, well, number one, I thank the New York courts in the civil fraud case.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, $388 million, and then you got I don't know how many millions of interest,
Right.
but being Donald Trump to the ground economically, preventing him for 3 years of doing in business. His son 2 years doing in business in New York.
Which I
That's
find disappointing because all of the punditry and so-called legal experts and so on had talked ad infinitum about how he would be not disbarred. That's not the right disqualified from operating in New York, period, and forever. So the fact that
Yes.
it's only 3 years is disappointing at a minimum disappointing. I understand where you're going. My intention here is not to disagree with you. I just find it very disappointing that it wasn't the life ban that so much of the legal punditry told us it would be.
No, I absolutely agree with you. It should have been a life ban for not just him, but for his son. And
It begs the question, how much cheating and lying and law breaking. So he's fined a total of 400, I think it was in the $453 million range, just shy of $500 million. Right. But
yeah,
somehow that's only a 3-year ban. How the hell much would he had to have done to get the lifetime ban that we were all told he was going to get? You know what I'm saying?
yes.
What did that fine have to be? 2 billion, 3 billion? How much law breaking did he have to do to get a lifetime ban that we were all told was coming? Don't tell me, people. Don't tell me, folks. Don't tell me, lawyers and economists and politicians, that there are not many, many, many layers of justice in this country. If Trump was a 17-year-old black kid with a 16th of an ounce of pot in his pocket, arrested on a Friday, he'd have been tried and sentenced by the following Friday. But 30, 40 years of lying and false reporting and loan fraud. Look, $500 million is a hell of a lot of money. In all likelihood, he'll get that money from his campaign. And the RNC, Republican National Committee, and his donors. He won't pay any of it because I'm not sure he actually even has it.
I don't know.
But
I don't know if he's. I don't think he's going to be able to find
30, 40 years of that.
the bondsman.
30, 40 years of that and $500 million fine Is it 3 years? Don't tell me there aren't multiple layers in this country of justice or lack of justice. You don't have to do that. It's fine. Kristen was kind enough to bring me an acid reducer and a Nexium because my guts are absolutely on fire. Because generally speaking, no matter what I eat, among my many health deficiencies, no matter what I eat, no matter how neutral it is, will make my stomach burn. And it happens to be burning at the moment. So, Randall, please continue.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. There's still a two justice system for the rich and for the rest of us in this country. I mean, let's look at our history. It's not just Black America. It's many white Americans of my generation that were blessed with pot, Texas, North Carolina, but they got 20-year sentence.
Right.
20
Yeah.
for use, not dealing, not the failed war on drugs started by Tricky Dick. And
yeah.
But case the coalition or coalition of news this week was the absolute despicability of what Trump said at his rally after being convicted of civil fraud, and that
Now I saw a clip of that. I did not.
It just shows that Trump is, and I got many Italian American friends here in PA. I grew up with, obviously, and still do. But it is a mafia protection racket when he says to NATO, if you don't pay for our protection, Russia can do whatever you want. And it's obvious. And then you got that stupid interview with Tucker Carlson and Putin. And Putin flat out said in that interview, he's going after a NATO country.
Yeah, he's going to go after the Baltics next.
I think he's going to go after Poland next.
He would have to get all the way across Ukraine. I am doubtful that he is going to get all of Ukraine.
No,
there's something in my gut, and I'm going only on my gut. I am not an expert in international affairs, and I don't play one on the radio. But I do think, and I can understand why I would be wrong about this. If the former political party known as Republicans, the former party known for its anti-communist, anti-fascist, anti-Soviet, pro national defense party, which is now, by the way, the Democratic Party. I fear that if they continue to putz around and hold up Ukraine aid, that at some point before it gets too dire of a situation, and other countries have stepped in where we have been failing, including the Finns and the Swedes, the Germans and the French, the Canadians, the British. But if the Ukrainian position should become so dire, I happen to think that Mr. Zelensky is a very intelligent man. And I think, and I mean this in a good way, that he's a pretty crafty, slick dude as well. And that if he sees the writing on the wall 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead, 12 months ahead, that aid will eventually dry up, that I do think he'll try to cut a deal and tell the Russians, keep the land you took, as he tries to save his country. Now, does that mean that 5 years from then, the Russians wouldn't try to take the rest of it? I suspect they would. but they would have to get all the way across Ukraine to get to Poland. That's why I happen to think the Baltic nations, Estonia, Latvia, and I am always forgetting the third one. God damn it. I always forget the third one. They're tiny countries. They're about the size of Connecticut. No, that's a section of Ukraine. That they are NATO countries as well. They are completely surrounded by Russia. And then their only other border is either with each other or the sea. That's why I tend to think that they will be next. But I think your overall point that Mr. Putin is not done is 1,000% correct. He's not done. He's not done. He also thinks he can wait this out because they have the larger population and he can keep drafting people. And oh, by the way, Lithuania it is, George. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. That said, they continue to use prisoners as soldiers. They are now beginning to use the Ukrainians that they have kidnapped from Ukraine to fight Ukraine. So I believe that Mr. Putin thinks he can wait this out and that he can eventually win a war of attrition and take all of Ukraine. I don't think he will. I think Mr. Zelensky is too smart for that. And that if he thinks he's going to lose the entirety of the country, he'll be willing to give up some of it. But let's also remember another wild card that's involved in here. Mr. Putin is 74 years old. And even though he is jammed full of steroids and Botox, and if you look at him, that's exactly what he looks like. He is much thicker a man than he was in his youth. And I don't mean fat. I mean pumped. And amazingly, doesn't have a wrinkle on his face. So I think he's pumped full of steroids and Botox, if I'm being honest. It's just my opinion. But he is 74. Now, apparently he eats very, very carefully. He works out all the time and is a very healthy man. But he is 74. I happen to think that's why he has accelerated his plans to reconstitute the former Soviet Union, which he has said in multiple interviews is the greatest crime and disappointment of his life, was the dissolution of the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And I think he wants to see it rebuilt, but I don't know if he's going to live long enough to see it rebuilt. But I also don't think that the West can just sit back and say, let him do what he wants. He's going to die soon anyway. There's nothing saying that the man won't live till he's 100. He very well might. It's unlikely, but he might. But at 74, and I think I have his age right. I think it's 74. Pretty sure that it is. Or it might be 72. But either way, somebody will Google it and yell at me and tell me if I'm right or wrong. But let's say 70. Let's say I have it right at 74. It's only 6 more years till he's 80, but an awful lot of stuff can happen in 6 years. So, I mean, there's so much involved in it. There's so much involved in it. Go ahead, Randall.
Yeah, it's I know I probably talk over you too many times. But
No, you know what? I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty
But-
too.
hard to and we're having the conversations week after week. It's hard to get my point in before I forget. Anyway.
But that's the same reason I do it, is because I want to get it out of my brain before I forget it, because I will forget it.
Exactly. Anyway, getting back, Trump at his rally, former President 45, goes on this big spiel that if we don't get protection money from NATO, you have to pay this, you have to pay that, you have to pay this. Russia can just do whatever they want. We don't care. Take a country.
Mhm.
Take a country. Now, getting back to Poland, that interview, there was a small section. He laid out it's going to be Poland. He started with the big lie, going back to Adolf Hitler starting World War II by invading Poland. He goes back and he says, "Oh no, Poland started that war." What? What? Oh yes, Poland started that war because they didn't give Hitler everything he wanted it. They didn't support the Nazis anymore, so they caused the invasion by Hitler and the Nazis. And he goes, you know, he talks about their Nazis. Well, this whole campaign, when it started, this whole invasion, this whole decimation of the Ukraine began with him spouting, "We're going out after the fascists in Ukraine." And in that interview with Tucker Carlson, "We're going after the fascists in Poland." Now, there's one thing, yes, I agree with you that the three small Baltic states could be on his agenda, but I don't necessarily think that's the number one agenda. And I'm going to tell you the two reasons why. There's only 3 continental divides separating real Russia from European countries. Only 3 continental divides you can take an army through. One of them is through Ukraine. One of them is through Poland. And one of them is through the Baltic States. And if he wants to actually physically invade Europe, he take. And that's why he also wants to expand Russia to the former territories of the communist Soviet Union. Because
here's the
those
interesting thing. You make a
country,
you
those countries embody the 3 ways Russia can be invaded towards from Europe, or Russia can invade towards Europe.
Right.
That's geography. That's historic geography.
Yeah.
And so I have to make that point.
You know what though? You make an interesting point though, Randall, that I would like to ask you about. There's nowhere, if Putin continues to move west, where he would not be directly bordering a NATO country. So if he's trying to build a buffer between NATO and Russia, that's impossible.
He would have to invade at least one NATO country. There's 31 NATO countries.
And he only has to invade one to trigger Article 5.
Yes, if. And that's the big if. If the United States honors Article 3.
Which Trump has promised not
and
to do.
Trump come out and said, "I'm not going to do it because you aren't paying." And you know what? That's given a signal to him to do it. Trump is a traitor to democracy in this country and democracies, whether in Canada, Britain,
Right. Well, I mentioned, I was thinking about it this week. He resigned, finally. The vice chair, or he was senior vice president or something of that, the NRA, Wayne LaPierre, is under indictment in the state of New York by Attorney General Letitia James, who seems to be doing a hell of a lot more than Merrick Garland is doing to keep democracy alive in this country and to hold the crooked accountable. But he's under indictment in the state of New York. And I think there's a fact that a lot of folks have forgotten about. And that is that it's been a pretty well reported set of facts. The FBI did look into this, and it's why AG James is suing at this or indicted. That about $86 million in Russian money was filtered through the NRA in 2016 to go to the Trump campaign and various other Republican campaigns across the country for Senate and for the House. So this, Trump can he still talks about the hoax of the Russia investigation, but nothing in his words or actions is contradictory to the fact that Mr. Putin owns him. Nothing. He owns him through money, and I think he owns him through fear. And oddly enough, I think on top of that, he owns him through admiration. Trump admires Putin. He admires that he is a dictator with complete and total power and who is worth more money than can be accurately calculated. No one knows exactly how much Mr. Putin is worth. You can't even quite estimate it. But he has extracted, stolen, pocketed, insert proper term here, tens of billions of dollars from the Russian people. I
If
believe.
not,
Go on.
if not $1 trillion.
I don't think that that's a wacky thought, to be honest with you. I don't think that that's a crazy thought.
I don't think it's a wacky thought either.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. Do I think it's that much? Probably not. But could it be $500 billion? $250 billion? Well, hell, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are worth $250 million or $250 billion. So why would it be wacky to think that a man who's been in charge of a country for 30 years hasn't taken the same amount, or 24 years? Yeah, what, 30-ish? No. Yeah, about. He took over when Clinton was president. It's almost 30 years.
He was vice premier before he was premier.
So yeah, and even the 4 years I think that Medvedev was president, Putin we knew was prime minister, so he was still pulling the strings. But
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's not that crazy to think that it's 300 billion, 400 billion, 500 billion. It's not crazy to think. It's not. What else you got, sir?
Joe Biden did, I don't know if it was this week or the week before, but he did an incredible thing for the environment. He did an incredible thing for us 99 percenters in this country. And that was to put a hold on the already being built liquefied natural gas export facility down in, I think it's Louisiana or Texas, but they want to build one right in Chester here in Delaware County, which is predominantly people of color.
Mm-hmm.
Got the county trash to steam plant. They already got a medical waste incinerator. And as the air travels, I'm only 2 miles maximum. My grandchildren are only 2 miles maximum. Methane, we know, is the biggest killer for climate change.
Very, very powerful greenhouse gas. Yes,
It-
you're correct.
It's 100 times more powerful greenhouse gas than CO2.
Hmm.
And, you know, it's released constant. It's released from the fracking. It's released from the plants that concentrate. It's released constant.
It's released from the thawing permafrost in the Arctic.
And that's stored methane.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
right.
Yep.
But the thing he did was to put a hold on building any liquefied natural gas export facility. And, you know, Republicans around here are going, well, that's going to go to Europe to make up for being cut off from Russia. No, the contracts are already showing the majority of liquefied natural gas go to communist China.
Hmm.
And
Which
that,
is where, when the Koch brothers were, and other groups, other companies and other Koch funded groups were crying and bitching about the Keystone XL pipeline to take Canada tar sands
through
down through the United States, through the largest aquifer in North America, to New Orleans to be refined. All of the garbage, sludge, and waste would be kept in New Orleans, and the refined oil will be shipped to Japan and China.
Exactly. And you know, and the big lies from the Republicans now, you know, well,
I think one of the biggest boosts that could be given to this economy.
We need to be energy independent. We are seeing more natural gas in Russia, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Mexico, and Guyana. We're producing more natural gas than all those countries combined. We're producing more. We're producing more crude oil than Saudi Arabia produces now.
And so, why are we still importing it from Saudi Arabia?
Because
I think most Americans do not understand the lunacy of this system.
if you listen to me, yeah, it's because we are importing crude oil. Yes, but under Trump, we still can't export crude oil from this country, but we can export any refined crude oil products, whether it's gasoline, number 2 fuel oil with diesel, aviation fuel. So we're exporting finished oil products legally by the billion-dollar oil and gas industry. But we're bringing in crude oil to refine for our people, because the oil and gas industry can make a higher profit exporting refined crude oil products than they could get here. I don't know if that made it simple or not for you.
This was a change that occurred actually under the Obama administration.
Okay, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. Obama was not a progressive Democrat like I am.
It is
like you.
It is something that he had to do in a compromise with a Republican Congress to give them something they wanted to get back something he wanted. That said, it could have been, could now be, and hopefully will be, especially if Democrats were to take back both houses of Congress, can be reversed with simple legislation. And it is my hope that it will be. One of the biggest boosts to the American economy that could be given without raising taxes on rich people would be to go back to the rule that goes back, I think, to the early 70s, 1972, I think, in fact, that no
Yeah.
fossil fuel products can be exported from this country. I think the only exception to that was coal, because
Right.
we've always shipped coal to China, but no oil-based fossil fuel product, crude, natural gas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, can be exported from this country. If Republicans love to talk about we need to drill. They don't like to talk about that we're generating more fossil fuel products than any other country on earth, or that it is one of the 3 leading exports from this country. They simply like to bitch about gas prices. All right, put your money where your mouth is. If you want to bitch about gas prices, then take the rule back that we can no longer export fossil fuel products that are drilled, extracted, mined, fill in the blank, from this country. It must stay here. But they don't want that because they want the profits. And they also want to be able to bitch about gas prices when a Democrat is in the White House, and then say, when a Republican is in the White House, that the president really doesn't have any control over gas prices. Except then another Democrat comes in, and then suddenly the only one who can control gas prices is a Democrat. Change the rule, change the legislation, repeal the legislation that says we can export fossil fuel products. Period. End of story. It'll be a great boost to the American economy. It will lower energy and prices here in this country. It'll also be a boon to seniors who can't afford heating oil. It'll make it more affordable for them. It will make energy products more affordable for domestic industry. It'll be an economic boom, and rich people won't have to pay another dime in taxes to have it done. That's called, wait for it, hope you're all sitting down, common sense.
Yeah, getting back to Jeff again. That's the thing that President Biden could do. Their executive, not through executive, through can't remember which federal agency, but in any case, I can't remember what economic nonpartisan group did the research that if these liquefied natural gas plants are allowed to be built and to export, that natural gas prices for us 99%ers would go up 7% per year. And you just brought a thought up in my mind. If people around this country, for example, are listening years ago, or are going to go back and catch a repeat YouTube or on Facebook, whatever, 5% of all number 2 fuel oil in this country produced and used for heating is just the Mid-Atlantic states and New England. The rest of the country, the primary heating is either electricity or natural gas. And so, yeah, I don't know about you. My house runs on number 2 fuel oil, which is diesel without the colorant in it. Same product, just different types of names for the product because they're used. One's used for running an engine, and one's used for heat. And yeah, we got our house set at 61, like my parents did back when I was in college in the 72, 73 oil embargo.
Okay, 61.
What?
61?
Yeah, we don't have the money. We don't have the money, bro.
No, I remember as a kid when President Carter first suggested that Americans set their winter heating to 65. And I remember
Right.
my dad going bonkers about it. How do we live like that as so and so and so? I still set the heat in my house to 65. I'm actually quite used to it. More times than not, I'm comfortable at 65. And even if I'm a little chilly, we have a series of blankets around the house. Sometimes, even when I'm not chilly, I tend to throw a blanket on myself just because it kind of feels nice to be under a blanket. It's just kind of comfortable. Um, kind of the idea, I guess, behind a weighted blanket, that kind of cocoon kind of feeling. Um, I'm used to 65, but my goodness, my friend, 61. Crikey, you guys are going to get sick.
No, Jeff, I'm wearing a suit of long underwear. I got on my upper, I got my t-shirt, I've got my long sleeve, uh, long underwear on, I've got my flannel shirt on, I've got a vest on, I've got a insulated sweatshirt on right now while I'm talking to you inside the house.
Okay. I mean, that seems low. I understand what you're saying. I'm not making fun of it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that's low. I've done 64 at times. And there's been times when I've left the house and I know I'm going to be gone for a long time and I've lowered it to 62 even with the cats here, but they got plenty of fur. They're good. Well, now it would be the cat and dog, but in the past when it was multiple cats. But 61 seems pretty low to me, but I understand. I understand. You have to, you can only afford what you can afford.
All I got, bro, is Social Security.
I hear you.
You know, and my wife got cut $8,000 on one of her part-time jobs teaching at her community college. So we had to do drastic things. You know, I told you, I think in private messenger, we had to give up Netflix.
Yeah.
And luckily, I saw the 5-part Kennedy series.
Good. You saw it before
before we had to cut.
Good.
The grandkids come over and there's no more Disney Plus on the TV.
Mhm.
We had to cut. And yeah, I sympathize with Americans that are even worse economic conditions than we are. I really sympathize.
Right.
With them. I know a couple of seniors that that's all they have. They're Social Security.
Right.
And I don't know how they're surviving. You know?
Well, the rich and Republicans have hated Social Security since its inception, and they've done a masterful job of keeping it from keeping up. And let's remember that their plan is not to.
And Reagan had Social Security. Reagan Republicans had Social Security.
And
I pay. Okay, I think I'm around 18,000 now for Social Security. Okay, I pay $2,700 per year for fucking tax. Oh, sorry, we're on the radio. I apologize. I really, really apologize, but that just got my.
All right, let's tell the rest of the story though. When and why did Reagan start taxing Social Security?
Because he gave tax riches to the corporations and then the multi-billionaires.
And
to
even
make up the deficit, make up for the deficit.
There you go.
Going to tax Social Security.
And
But in reality, those 8 years he was president, what took from 1776, and that means paying for the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Great Depression, from 1776 to 1981, and then his 8 years as president. Our national debt tripled in 8 years, what took over 200 years to reach our national debt.
Correct.
And people, 99.9% of people do not know that fact, do not understand that fact, do not understand that every time a Republican is elected in this country, our national debt doubles or triples. And every time a few Democrats get in, it is reduced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, all I have is a BS. All I have is a BS.
Think about it. That was funny. Think about that.
I'm not an economist. I'm just an average intelligent person. I am not a smart person. And I just don't get how people, my wife, she is much, much smarter than I am. I can't get through to her on some of these things. You know what I mean? She's director of a nonprofit. She's got to do the budget, got to pay staff.
Mhm. It's like running a business.
She handles all the finances in this family, which is great because if it was up to me, man, we'd be bankrupt, I'm sure.
Yep.
But then I have no problem accepting that. I come from both sides of my family, multi-generational women being educated and being financial wizards in their household, whether it's from both sides, from homestead farming families, or whether it's up to the generation to today. Yeah, women are smarter. You know that song?
Let me just get this out before we have to say goodbye to Randall. Let me elaborate just a tiny bit more on what he was talking about. The top marginal tax rate when Reagan took power was 74%. What that means is, in today's dollars, I'm saying this slow so you all stay with me. Not because you're not smart, but because it is a little complicated, but it's not overly complicated. It's not quantum physics. You can understand this. After Reagan took power, or when he took power, the top marginal tax rate was still 74%. One of the very first things he did when he took power was to cut that to 25%. What that means is, in today's dollars, before Reagan took power, every dollar above $4 million was taxed at 74%, meaning that 74 cents of every dollar went to the federal government, but only above a certain point. And in today's dollars, that point would be roughly $4 million. The rich would have you believe that a 74% tax rate means that they are taxed at 74% on every dollar they earn. That is a lie. Very plain and simple, it's a lie. Only after a certain amount of money. So he cut that from 74% to 25%, or was it 35%? I think it was 25%, actually. And it created massive deficits. And even officials in Reagan's own administration came to him and said, we can't fund the government. We need revenue. So where did they go to get the revenue? The middle class and the poor. They emptied the mental institutions. They cut SNAP benefits. They threw people off of welfare. They raised taxes on the middle class and the poor. More so on the poor. The poorer you were, the more they raised taxes on you. And then they taxed the monies that you were already taxed on. Social Security, unemployment, any government benefit that you received was taxed, even though you were taxed the first time around to pay for them. And he still didn't get the revenue they needed. They still had to borrow and print money. And that's what Randall's talking about. He paid in, Randall paid in, just like all of us, paid into Social Security his entire working career. It is an earned benefit. He earned it by contributing to it. And Mr. Reagan taxed it. It was a double tax. And too many damn Democrats helped get it through. Democrats controlled the House during this time. Tip O'Neill was Speaker. And it passed. And two-term Democratic presidents since then have done nothing to stop it. This is where my party must embrace its failure. Two-term Democratic presidents and now another first-term Democratic president has failed. Outright failed to dismantle the basic tenets of Reaganism. In the same way that Reagan came to office saying in multiple interviews and in public, I want to destroy what is left of the New Deal. Democrats must now run to say, I want to destroy the myth of trickle-down economics. And I want to destroy Reaganism. Nearly 2/3 of Americans identified as middle class when Mr. Reagan came to power. That's now 46%, the lowest percentage since the institution of the New Deal. And these are self-identifications, people who actually think that they're in the middle class. 46% of us are not really actually in the middle class, but we think we are. At the time that 66% of the population was in the middle class, they were really actually in the middle class. They didn't just self-identify that way, they were statistically. It's not that way right now. The middle class is probably only about 40%. It might even be less. But only 46% of us even think we're middle class. It's really staggering. It's staggering. This is a message that Democrats can and should run on. Why are you running, Mr. and Mrs. Democratic nominee for fill in the blank office? Because I want to destroy Reaganism. It's destroyed this country. It has gutted the middle class. It has made millions of our fellow citizens suffer in dumb anguish. And I want to end it because we're better than that. So what does this sound like to you? What does this potentially remind you of? Especially if you're a regular listener or viewer of the program. What is the theme that I told you this program was going to adopt and use for the entirety of 2024, if not way off into the distant future? Bobby Kennedy's platform for president. Why? Why does the richest country on earth have so many people who go hungry, who do not have shelter, who cannot get an education, who cannot afford to see a doctor? Surely the richest country on earth can do better to its fellow citizen, to its fellow resident, to the members of its own community. This was the message of Bobby Kennedy. Senior. And it is the message that every Democratic nominee for every layer of government, every level of government, can and should be running on. 3 men have as much wealth as 160 million Americans. It's immoral. It's immoral. It's anti-Christian. It's anti-democratic, small d democratic. That's how fascist regimes come to power. It's undemocratic. It's anti-Christian. It's anti-gospel. It's antithetical to the founding of the country itself. Of all the first world countries on earth, he tried to say, must be time to stop because now I can't pronounce words. Of all the so-called first world countries on earth, the United States is now the least economically mobile, meaning that if you are born poor, you have a 90+% chance of dying poor. In fact, you have a really good chance of dying poorer than you were when you were born. If you were born in the middle class, you actually have a better chance of becoming poor than staying middle class, and a substantially lower chance of actually moving up. But if you're born rich, you have an excellent chance of staying rich. You're probably going to become richer. That's antithetical to the American ideal. It's anti-Christian. It's immoral. It's anti-democratic. It's anti-freedom. Any Democratic nominee candidate for any office in this country that can hear my voice, live or recorded, or whether you see this weeks from when we're recording, you can, you must, you should be running on Bobby Kennedy's 1968 presidential theme. Who are we as a country? Who do we want to be? How can we allow the richest nation on earth to allow such suffering? Are we not better than this? I'm going to say goodnight, Randall. I'm going to wrap up, my friend.
All right, man. I'm going to jump over to
I know you're leaving me. I know.
Sergeant Mack, and I
No, you don't have to do that. I'm just kidding.
we need to talk sometime during the
No,
week.
I want to have all your folks on. I want to have a night where you and the hippie round table gets together. I'm going to call it that. I think the Randall round table or the hippie round table, whatever sounds better. I'm committed to it. You get the band together and I will open up and I'll sit back and you take the stage. All right. You have a
Yep.
great week. Okay.
Love to Christine and George. Thank you for your excellent technical help as usual, and getting in there with doing the research to help Jeff on the show. God bless you all. Good night.
Have a great night, my friend. You take care of yourself and stay healthy. We're gonna wrap up here in the next couple minutes. I don't think I can take you up to 9 anyway. It's been a frustrating day. I'm exhausted. Sergeant Mac and the pre-show begin at 8:30 anyway, so you will not be left alone. Have no fear. We will be back next week from 6 p.m. Eastern time. 18 and 7 is 25 on the 25th. We will be back again with you. Whether I have a guest or not will be a complete mystery. I can't say I'm counting on it at this point. But as I have proven, I can talk to you ad infinitum pretty much for 3 straight hours. I'm very grateful to have had 2 folks call in tonight. I didn't even have to go through the Facebook page, which I actually think is not a terrible way to conduct the program, to go through the Facebook page and talk about the articles that we posted this week. I don't think that's a bad thing. But I didn't even have to get to that to get through 2.5 hours of the program. I would strongly encourage you, beg you, implore you, ask you, all of that. Please, please, please check out our home group Facebook page for the program. It's on the screen in George's Square right there. I'm pointing up to it, but yet I'm watching also on Facebook, and it's also to the side. Maybe I should do this. I should point like that. Let me see. I'm actually watching the delay. Oh, I'm pointing the wrong way. Pointing the wrong way. It's over here. Take a look at that square over there. That's our home group Facebook page. That other side of information. Great news stories that we post all week, and not always just politics, science, astronomy, health, and some good news stories. Actually posted a story this week that 50 years ago, Paul McCartney's bass guitar was stolen from him. He had it returned to him this week. It's kind of a cool, feel-good story, right? It just is. It's just a kind of cool story. Also a lot of animal advocacy. There was a couple of really good feel-good stories that I tried to post this week. It's not always doom and gloom. So I hope you'll check it out. George, sir, do you have anything? I have a feeling your boss will be as happy to see you a half hour early as mine will me, perhaps. Is there anything that you would like to add? Thoughts, questions, comments, anything that you want to add? We're kind of on bonus time here because I know Sergeant Mac, I think, has started the pre-show, but is there anything that's on your mind? Questions, comments, stories, thoughts, anything you want to throw out there before we say goodnight to our friends?
Oh, there is going to be a TikTok, and I might even do it for what happened today.
Well, let me again,
because I'm PO'd too.
Yeah, I'm peeved about it properly, but let me
If
again.
you don't do the TikTok, I'm going to do it.
Let me again.
And then you're not going to like it.
No, probably not. But let me again be very clear. Well, first off, I don't censor you. You don't, you're an American. You have the right to say what you say and feel what you wish. Let me again be very, very clear. I'm not affiliated with RFK Jr.'s campaign. I am against his campaign. I will not support it. I will talk about it when it makes the news because that's what we do here on the program, but I do not support it. I do happen to agree with his economic platform because it is the Kennedy economic platform, but his views on social issues and conspiracy theory are just absolutely off the wall. They are not grounded in fact or science. In fact, they have been disproven by fact and science repeatedly. The folks that begged off the program today have every right in the world to beg off the program. They were donating their time to us for free, coming to visit us as a favor, and to talk about the causes and issues and policies that they happen to believe in, and good for them. They have every right in the world to protect their organization and foundation. And well, it's not really a foundation, but I mean, they have every right in the world to protect their foundation if they think, if they legitimately believe, and I think they do legitimately believe that being a guest on this program would harm that effort. Here's where the discontinuity and the disagreement comes in. The information on which they based that decision is fundamentally incorrect. It is ill-informed and it is incorrect. And that's what makes me angry. They have every right to protect their organization, to protect their policy, to protect their reputations and their employment, all of it. All of it. They have every right in the world. They're not bad people. They had to make a decision. Simply what gets me angry, and I think what has George angry, I do not speak for George, but what I believe has George angry, what has Sergeant Mack angry, and all of my partners at TCP, well, I shouldn't say TCP really, but at Hot 101 and at Ghost Claw and everywhere else, is that the information that they base this decision on is incorrect. I am not affiliated with the campaign. I do not support it. And I'm not nearly as powerful a talk show host as they might think. I don't think, sadly, I don't think that tomorrow morning on MSNBC, they would have been taking a shot, a clip of our program to try to besmirch our guests. We're just not that popular. We are infinitely popular than we were when we started. But again, it's not Tom Hartman or Randy Rhodes or Al Franken or, David Packman or Mike Malloy or Stephanie Miller, or we're not any of those people. So that's the only thing that makes me angry, is that the decision was based on bad info. That's all. That's what makes me angry. They have a right to protect themselves. They have a right to not appear here. They have a right to change their minds about appearing here. It's legitimate. It's freedom. It's small d democracy. But you should base that decision on facts, and they weren't the right facts. They weren't correct. They're just not. I'm not angry at them in particular. I'm not angry at the causes they stand for. And they are always, always, always welcome on this program. Always. And I have every belief that they will come back to the program at a different later time. Just today's decision making was not grounded in didn't have a solid foundation, I guess is what I should say. Go ahead, George. Please continue. Please.
No.
Go.
I'm done.
Go get him, kid.
I'm done.
Questions, comments, anything that you wanted us to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you can think of?
No. Nope.
Well
Got
said.
nothing.
Well said.
Got nothing.
Brief and direct. Got nothing.
0.0.
And then we come to Mr. Dare. 0.0. How did you feel, George, about when the Nazis bombed Pearl Harbor?
Nazis bombed Pearl Harbor? Yeah, forget it. He's rolling.
He's on a roll.
Rolling.
Well, I think that we've done all the damage that we can do for one night. Now, on Facebook, that other side of information, I will be, I should do this for you, lot. It's a place to tap. I will share this actually before we leave you, so that you know that you can get to it. I have to find it first. There it is. Never, never fear. You are not alone. The Villain's View is coming up. If I can share it. Screens. Oh, there we go. Wait, this iPad's just about had it, George. The poor girl is struggling. Listen, you are not alone. The Villain's View is coming up live right following us. They are in their pre-show as we speak. But I will signal Sergeant Mac that the stream on Hot 101 is his when he wants it. On Facebook, you can already find their program at That Other Side of Information and other places. So they're off and running. So we will hand it off and let them have a go and consider ourselves wrapped up for the evening. I think we've done pretty much all the damage we can do for 1 week. And yeah, I mean, that about does it. And again, we have every plan in the world to be back here with you next week. That would be the 25th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. My thanks, my humble thanks, my humble just everything. It means the world to us to be part of the TCP Media Group. Marquise, Andrew, Taekwon, and Whitney. For everybody at hot101.net. I know the big boss, DJ Lex was listening in this evening, among others. I'm sure I get great support from the hot101.net family. These are good people. Please check out hot101.net, not just when I and Sergeant Mac are on, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, everywhere around and above planet Earth. Check out Hot 101. These are talented, good people. Check them out. They deserve your support, and you will enjoy it. You will. Trust me, you will. That said, for everybody at Hot 101, DJ Lex, DJ Earl, all the DJs, and we appreciate you. We're very proud to be part of the organization and the family, and thank you for supporting us as well. You need to check out Hot 101 for everywhere that shared our program on Facebook. We hope you please continue to do so. That number has been going up. The number of groups and individuals that allow us onto your corner of the Facebook universe is growing. We're very grateful. We hope you continue to do so. For Lynn and George Dare, for April Riddick, of course, Lehigh County Commissioner April Riddick, for Daisy the dog, Guy the cat, and my much better half, Kristen. I am Jeff Kennedy. I think I named everybody. I hope I did. I did say George and Lynn. I think so. For Randall, for all the callers, commenters, everybody who took in our program, thank you very much. Remember, if you miss any of the program, best place to go is youtube.com That Other Side of Information. All of our recorded programs are there, not just tonight, but all of them going back to day one. That's it. We've done all the damage we can do. We plan to see you, every plan in the world, to see you next week on the 25th, 6 p.m. I thanked everybody for everybody. So for now, let's say goodnight, and let me please remind you to please take care of yourselves and each other. We've done all the damage we can do, and the Villain's View comes your way next. Right now, stay tuned to Hot 101 and check out the Villain's View.